I thought it'd be exciting today to bring a little information on Fannie Mae announcing a new opportunity, 3% towards closing cost if you educate yourself. Fannie Mae tweaked their Home Path program by offering 3% in closing cost assistance for homebuyers completing an online home ownership course. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Home Path loans are properties that Fannie Mae has foreclosed and has brought back into the market for new homebuyer or purchasers. The benefit is a low down payment, 3% down payment for primary residence or owner occupied, and 10% down payment, which is normally minimum 20% for any of investors out there. The other benefit is there's no appraisal. So a lot of times you'll see some challenges with some of these properties they were foreclosed on. So that might be hard to get a traditional appraisal for lenders, whereas the appraisal is waived for Home Path properties using Home Path financing. The credit can be used that they're paying now towards standard home buying closing cost points or prepaid. So anything outside of that 3% down payment, you can utilize this 3% that Fannie Mae is offering back to go towards to cover all those other items. In order to qualify for the offer, you must be a first home buyer. So it does not qualify for investors. It's only for a first-time home buyer, defined as someone who has not owner-occupied a property in the last 3 years. So it follows the same guidelines as first-time home buyer requirements for the down payment assistance programs and the tax credits that I've talked about through Washington State Housing Finance Commission. Additionally, you must purchase a Home Path property, which you can find on their website by conducting a property search. So if you just go to Home Path and then go to the property search, you can find all the properties that are available. Now, in our area, they are slim pickings on Home Path properties. And especially right now, I mean, our market's recovering, the economy's getting better, which is awesome. And fortunately, and thank goodness, home buyers are not losing their properties into foreclosure as much as they were back after the financial meltdown. So that's good news. But the opportunity then in properties that are owned by Fannie Mae and have been foreclosed on are slim. So you're not going to see a lot of properties there, but take a look at it because a lot of times you'll get a little surprise that pops up. And a lot of people are not looking at Fannie Mae Home Path properties because they're not familiar with it, or they just are not seeing properties that are available, so they just forget to look. So put that on your trigger to take advantage of properties that may come up. Now, if you do find a property that is worthwhile, the new incentives is referred to as the Home Path Ready Buyer program and is offered in conjunction with a nonprofit by the name of Framework Education. Now, in a nutshell, prospect buyers must complete a 9-module homeowner education course that includes a quiz at the end and kind of reminds me of a little online traffic schooling. So what it's going to cover and go over the course material is pitfalls to avoid, how much you can afford, how to decide what home to buy, how to choose the best loan, how to lower your down payment, what is included in your offer, and what happens at the closing process or during the closing process. Each model takes roughly about 30 minutes to complete and can take, you can take the entire class online, which is great. So you're not having to go to a person-to-person course where you might have to qualify for some of the down payment assistance programs. Also, you can even use it on your smartphone. So that's pretty awesome. Fannie Mae also boasted that the test exceeds the standard of both HUD and National Industry Standard Home Ownership Education and Counseling Programs. So there are some down payment assistance programs that require to have courses. You've heard me bring into studio and talk about the MCC, Mortgage Credit Certificate Tax Credit through the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. That's that awesome 20% tax bracket for any of you first-time home buyers out there. So if you have not heard me talk about it, definitely call into the show. You don't want to miss out on that. And those education programs that are available that you have to take on the online courses are not extensive, which you can look at that as good or bad. I think the education process and the home buying process, I would want it as extensive as possibly that it could be so that you're really educating yourself on things that are important to you as a first-time home buyer. So you're probably going to learn a lot about the home buying process, which is always, again, a plus and certainly a good way to reduce defaults on the associate options or the pitfalls with mortgages. Now, once the course is completed, you receive a certificate of completion that you can download and then include with the offer of purchasing a home for the Home Path property. The online course does cost $75 up front, but Fannie Mae is going to reimburse that if you have a successful closing process. So I think it's a good course to take Is it worth $75 for you to take that if you're not going to be purchasing HomePath property? I don't know. That's something that you want to look at, but definitely it's worth the $75, being that it's going to be refunded back to you when you close on your HomePath property. Now, in order to be eligible, the request for closing cost assistance must be made at the time that the initial offer is submitted for HomePath in their online system. So it's really, really important that you make note of this and you educate your realtor, because there's a really good chance that the realtor is not going to know that this exists, and if they do know it exists, they may not realize that they actually have to submit that in the initial offer. Very important, because you would hate to lose 3% of your purchase price credit because it wasn't done the appropriate way. This took an effect on April 14th of this year. So again, it's a new program that they've just announced. So if you're in process of closing with a HomePath property right now and you're listening to this, I'm sorry, the credit does not apply to you because your offer has already been submitted through the HomePath online resource. If the lender restricts the amount of seller contributions, which typically they would not, but if they do, you've got to put that in consideration because it would not apply. And then also you've got to make sure that you have enough closing cost and prepaids to utilize that full 3%. So if you don't, make sure that you're paying some additional points to utilize that money to get a little better interest rate to take full advantage of that 3% discount. So really good news. It's nice to see that Fannie Mae is putting some money back there to help our new first-time home buyers. And coming up next on the Money Hour, my guest is a lifelong sports fan with more than a decade of sports broadcasting experience. She knows sports and knows sports fans. So why is she here in studio with me to talk on a money show? Well, she has learned over the last few years that speaking in conferences and corporation training associates most sports fans don't see the big picture. They haven't recognized the full value of sports fandom in business. Are you a business professional? If you are, you definitely will not want to miss my conversation. The entire show, again, is with Jen Mueller, founder of Talk Sporty to Me, sports reporter, professional speaker, and communication coach, right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW after the short break.